What's going on, everyone? Welcome back. Today, I wanted to try out some more Shadow Feraligatr in the Open Great League. It's actually been a little bit of time since I've used this Pokemon in this meta. I know it's a very strong pick, but there are Pokemon in recent seasons that have been buffed that makes this Pokemon a little bit harder to use. I'm using Shadow Claw, Hydro Cannon, and Ice Beam as the moveset here. A very dynamic and flexible moveset. I'm going to pair this up with my Galarian Moltres using Fly, Sucker Punch, and Brave Bird. A very strong moveset. I think just the default attacks here you'd see on this Pokemon. And Tinkaton as our lead for the day. Fairy Wind, Play Rough, and Bulldoze on this Pokemon. A very flexible pick against a lot of Pokemon, although it can struggle against the fire and ground types, which is why it pairs very well with Feraligatr. Let's get into the battles and see what this team can do. Let's get into the first game of the day. What are we going to see? Tinkaton up against a Galarian Moltres. Doesn't get much better than that here. Our opponent likely has to swap out. They instantly switch into their Shadow Kanto Marowak. We bring in our flying type Galarian Moltres, and at this point we're in a very good spot. I know Rock Slide is going to hurt. Next season, it's actually going to do even more damage here, so if I no-shield next season, potentially this is even worse for us, but luckily here in this current season, we do survive the attack, although our HP is getting kinda low, maybe in Mud Slap downrange in the 2-shield matchup. Let's see if that's going to be the case or not. They're getting low as well, just with Sucker Punches. They end up shielding that first fly here. In comes their next charge attack. I think they might just be able to go straight for Bone Clubs at this point, which is a little bit frustrating. I don't love shielding ground type attacks, but I think either way, if shields are down, our Shadow Feraligatr should be able to have a lot of play against whatever they might bring in. Our opponent goes to the no shield there, so they get a farm down with their Clodsire. But at this point, Shadow Feraligatr, with this much energy, is going to be able to come in, go with the Hydro Cannon here before the Earthquake is going to be reached. And while this Clodsire might be able to go for an Earthquake against us, as long as we land a single Hydro Cannon into this Pokemon, we should be in a very good spot. Our opponent's building up a lot of energy here. I have to shield up a potential Earthquake. I need to land a Hydro Cannon here to be able to win this game. I know they might try to catch, but honestly, even if they do, it doesn't really matter because I can just build up more energy against that Moltres if I need to. Hydro Cannon coming through right now. Our opponent, no shields remaining, ends up taking that move right now. They're building up a lot of energy, but it's not really going to matter at this point, saying my Tinkaton has energy on it as well. Our opponent brings in that Galarian Moltres, and I have my Tinkaton to respond instantly to this. We have the ability to resist all of the fast and charge attack pressure from this Pokemon. They go for the Brave Bird, which puts us down into the yellow, but we're still outside of Poison Sting downrange, and that Clodsire is so low. I go for the Undercharge just to make sure that I can get a bit more Fairy Wind energy here, just to make it that so this Clodsire has absolutely nowhere to go. They have to go for a charge attack to knock us out. In comes an Earthquake here potentially against us. Our opponent actually going for the Sludge Bomb instead. I guess at this point they realize it's over, not much they can do, and Tinkaton able to close out that game. Alright, next matchup, we're going to see our Alolan Sandslash lead into our Tinkaton. Not my favorite lead matchup, but they are on Powder Snow, which gives me just a little bit more play. I'm going to go for the Bulldoze. I'm going to hope for a debuff as well. If we get an early debuff here, that makes my life so much easier, where 2 Bulldozes basically knock out. No debuff, that's a 50-50 chance to get it, and we did not get lucky this time. In comes their next attack here. It's going to be a Drill Run, which I know I can survive thanks to them using Powder Snow as their fast move, and our Bulldoze thrown right on CMP. This attack, while it won't knock them out, we'll put them pretty low here, so our Galarian Moltres in the backline hopefully will have a little bit more play. Our opponent is staying in. They go for the CMP on the next Ice Punch, and that's a very well played overfarm by them right now. I know they have enough energy to reach this Ice Punch here, as well as maybe even a Drill Run against our backline, and they make a very smart play as well. They save the energy on that Alolan Sandslash. They come in with the Jellicent, and at this point, I'm in a bit of a tricky spot because I would expect a second Water type in the backline. Our energy on our Feraligatr might not go too far for us this game. We do survive one Surf. In comes a second Surf at this point. I'm going to let this go because I know we can survive it, but I think I will have to throw a Fly to knock him out. You have to keep in mind that A-Slash is still around, and they do have energy on it. They have a full Ice Punch banked. I think they're just one more Powder Snow away from a Drill Run as well, so this is going to get very awkward here, especially if they come in with the Feraligatr and get a huge Shadow Claw down, meaning now they have a lot of energy on both the A-Slash as well as this Feraligatr. In comes a Hydro Cannon right now. I'm going to have to shield something this game, but the problem is, if I double shield here, they can probably get to a Drill Run, and if I don't shield, I just get completely farmed down, so I think either way at this point, I'm fighting an uphill battle. I just have to hope that I can knock them out with this Hydro Cannon here, or draw their final shield, or something. I don't know, I think at this point, they might just have us. In comes that Hydro Cannon, our opponent will let it go. The non-Shadow Gator able to survive, and at this point, I think they can just swap out into their A-Slash, go for another Powder Snow or 2, go for that Drill Run, KO our Shadow Feraligatr, and yeah, very well played by them. Saving that A-Slash for the backline was a very smart move, and unfortunately, Shadow Gator not quite enough to get the job done. Next game, Tinkaton up against the Greninja. Alright, well, we're a Fairy type into a Dark type. I do like to see that. I was going to say it's not the most commanding matchup in the world, saying they outpace us to Hydro Cannons, but they actually instantly swap out into a Shadow Dusknoir. This Pokemon is a very good matchup for our Galarian Moltres. We bring it in, shield once, go for a full Sucker Punch down. I know a Dynamic Punch wouldn't quite knock us out there, but keeping our Moltres healthy is likely going to be a good play right now. Our opponent might have like a Shadow Caesar in the backline, or maybe a Clodsire. I've seen a lot of Clodsire Greninja cores recently, so if that is the case, either way, I think our Shadow Feraligatr should have some play. In comes a fly, down goes their first shield, in comes a second fly, actually. They don't end up throwing energy before I get this next fly off. In comes a move. Do we get the shield? No, they let it go. So much damage against this Greninja right now. And I'm thinking I could just shield this up, probably Sucker Punch all the way down now, and make it so if there is another Ghost type, we're going to have a lot of play. If it's a Clodsire in the backline, honestly, that's fine as well. Brave Bird, if it ends up landing, will put them into Bulldoze range, and if it doesn't end up landing, then I can go for a Hydro Cannon pretty freely with a Feraligatr. They do end up shielding the attack there. Smart play by them, saying Brave Bird would put them pretty low. But at this point, I do survive an Earthquake from full HP. I definitely survive a Sludge Bomb. I guess their play here trying to get to 2 Sludge Bombs before my Hydro Cannon, but Shadow Feraligatr just a little bit too spammy here. We reach the charge attack. We don't quite knock him out with this move, but it doesn't really matter. At this point, our Tinkaton has energy, our Moltres still has HP, and that Greninja is so low in the backline. Down goes our Shadow Gator, but in comes our Tinkaton, just 2 Fairy Winds away from a Bulldoze. We outpace, we reach the move, we knock out the Clodsire, and while there is still that Greninja in the backline, we have a full HP Fairy type. There is not much they can do. They bring it in, we Fairy Wind down, and we take the win. GG to our opponent. Next matchup, Tinkaton up against a Golisopod. If this is on Shadow Claw, it's a little bit more awkward for us. No, it's actually on Fury Cutter, so it is a pretty neutral matchup here, but we will be able to survive 2 Aqua Jets pretty comfortably in the Zero Shield matchup. I'm going to go for the No Shield on this first one here. Yeah, not quite a 2-shot against us. They bring in a Cradilly, and this is actually a bit of an awkward spot to be in, because while Cradilly is generally not a good matchup into Tinkaton, I am going to be chipped down quite a bit here, and they actually go for a shield on that first player up, which means now my damage output is very low. I don't know exactly what I want to do right now. I'm going to go for the No Shield on this Rock Tomb, and then bank the energy, come in with our Shadow Feraligatr, and hope at this point that down shields this Cradilly is not going to be as big of an issue for us. In comes a Rock Tomb, almost certainly. Yeah, they never go for the grass, not there. But I know even a Rock Tomb would put us into farm down range before we can get to 2 charge attacks. So I have to go for the shield. I have to go for the Ice Beam, hoping this is enough to knock out. Our opponent goes to the No Shield. They do not quite get knocked out, but we're close there, I guess. And a Golisopod comes right back in. I have access to another Hydro Cannon, but we are a debuffed Shadow Feraligatr. This move is not quite enough here to knock him out. Our opponent's building up so much energy right now. I don't know exactly what they might have in the backline, but I'm going to bank on the fact that maybe down shields our team has just a little bit more play. I shield up that X-Scissor. I go for the Hydro Cannon to try to knock this Pokemon out or draw their final shield. Let's see what they're going to do. They let it go in the backline. What are we going to see? Do we have play with our Moltres, our Tinkaton, and our low HP Shadow Feraligatr? We do not. It's a Belly Bolt. That is probably one of the worst things I could see there, actually. So I guess well played to our opponent. Belly Bolt, a little bit too much for us to handle. Next game, Greninja in the lead. And once again, a very neutral matchup. This time, though, our opponent is staying in. They realize they can outpace us pretty comfortably to this Hydro Cannon. It's going to do about half of our HP here. And because Greninja can go for a lot of dancing around this game, it can be a bit tricky depending on what they want to do. Once again, though, a Shadow Dusknoir on the save swap. I think I'm going to play it out the same way that I did in the last game. I have a lot of energy left over on my Tinkaton. We can shield once, farm all the way down. Once again, just a Dynamic Punch being thrown there. We're able to just farm them all the way down before their next one's going to be thrown as well. And we have a lot of energy potentially for if this Greninja does come back in. Greninja does come right back in here as we were expecting. This Pokemon, though, after the Fairy Wind chip damage, might just get knocked out by our Fly, so we actually get a shield there. We might even get a second one from this attack. In comes a move. We're 1 Fairy Wind away from a play rough. I wouldn't mind doing a combo play at some point. In comes our Tinkaton. I'm going to try to go for the combo play at an unexpected time, but our opponent actually was going to throw an alignment there against our Moltres, which is kind of sad. I guess at this point, though, we have energy still on our Moltres. And the funny play is, while our Feraligatr only has resisted damage against this Greninja, we can actually pretty comfortably survive these Night Slashes here, as well as the Water Shuriken damage. I'm going to go for what I thought was going to be a CMP, but they caught a Hydro Cannon on a Talonflame. Alright, well, that's still fine by me. I think even with that catch, we win this game. Greninja is getting far too low, and as I was saying, despite our resisted damage here, we're able to do quite a bit of damage over time. Even with just our fast move pressure here, I could probably go for a full Sucker Punch down if I needed to, but I got a CMP on this Hydro Cannon, so might as well throw it anyway. In comes the Night Slash, but it's not going to be enough thanks to our shield, and we have this Hydro Cannon loaded, which will knock out this Greninja and take us the win here. Love to see it. Greninja always a bit of a tricky Pokemon, but we're able to eventually knock him out here. There it goes. Hydro Cannon knocks out the Greninja, and we're able to pick up the win. GG there to our opponent. Next game is a Shadow Drapion on the lead. This is one of the best possible matchups that Tinkaton could be in, and especially since our backline doesn't necessarily want to see this Pokemon, I'm happy here to go for Bulldozes, try to just chip this Pokemon down if I can. And I mean, if they want to shield their way through this, they can be my guest. I'm fine just letting my Tinkaton go down, getting a shield advantage for our backline. Because as you can see, we have Brave Bird, we have Shadow Hydro Cannon in the back. If we have a shield advantage as well as an energy lead, it can be pretty hard to come back from if your opponent doesn't just have like a hard RPS backline into you. And comes that debuff on that first Bulldoze, which is kind of nice to see, but we still can't really farm them down. This Drapion is very, very spammy, so they're already at a second Aqua Tail. They're actually just 2 more away from a third. Bulldoze does come through and gets a shield here from our opponent. They're doing a very good job of over-farming. They CMP on our Bulldoze right now, and I'm thinking with how much work our Tinkaton has done at this point, I can let this go down, I can go for a Sucker Punch down with our Galarian Moltres, and hopefully once this Pokemon is out of the way, our Shadow Feraligatr up a shield should have a lot more wiggle room. In comes an attack here, just an Aqua Tail. I know I can survive this pretty comfortably, get that Sucker Punch down. Interestingly enough, though, they don't let us get that Sucker Punch down. They come in with an Azumarill. Kind of wish I had a hard counter to this, but I mean, I have a lot of soft answers to this on this team. I can go for the Brave Bird. It's going to do quite a bit of damage here. Our opponent no-shielding, saying they're already down 1 shield. I think that is the right play for them to make. I'm going to shield a potential play rough, go for a Hydro Cannon after overfarming as much energy as we possibly can here, and making this Azu's life a very uncomfortable mess. In comes our next Hydro Cannon here, our opponent. They could shield this if they want to, but if they do shield this up, I think I can probably just shield the next one and Shadow Claw all the way down. So yeah, they do let that move go. In comes their final Pokemon. It is a Galarian Moltres. I know a catch is likely to happen at some point here. I wait a turn, go for the Hydro Cannon, which will end up landing against the Moltres. If they no-shield this, I think I can farm down with Fast Move Pressure, and if they go for the shield, I can go for an Ice Beam here. I'm going to call the catch, I wait a turn, I go for the Shadow Claw on that catch attempt. Ice Beam coming through against this Galarian Moltres, and this should get a KO against the Flying-type Pokemon. Ice Beam comes through, down goes Galarian Moltres, GG to our opponent. Next game, Tinkaton up against Galarian Moltres. Alright, doesn't get much better than this. I guess Galarian Moltres at this point, one of the most common Pokemon that you really see in this meta right now. It's a very strong pick. I use it myself so much, and this is why Tinkaton is a pretty fun Pokemon here. They come in with a Shadow Drapion, they go for an Aqua Tail immediately. Very smart play to make sure that they don't get denied a Poison Sting there. In comes our Bulldoze. Our opponent does let it go. Once again, we do get a debuff, which is nice to see, but I think what we have to keep in mind at this point is that there is still that Moltres in the backline that can be a bit uncomfortable for our team if we're not careful. Our Tinkaton is getting chipped down quite a bit, and our Shadow Feraligatr especially doesn't want to see it. I'm going to go for a bit of an undercharge here to try to get more energy if I can, but our opponent actually goes for the shield there, so I guess undercharging doesn't really matter at that point. We can go now for the no-shield on Tinkaton. Up shields, we're so much better into that Galarian Moltres than if you're down shields and try to go for switch at this point. Down goes our Tinkaton, but once again, I'm going to come in Galarian Moltres, but this time our opponent doesn't let that farm down happen. They actually instantly pivot right back into their Galarian Moltres here. They throw after 7. I know that's just going to be a fly. Can go for that no shield and overfarm. Oh, or I guess I can go for the Brave Bird instead. You know, I like that play as well. Just go for it. Let's see what our opponent's going to do. They let it go. Once again, an undercharge is going to be had there just to get a bit of an energy lead on our Shadow Feraligatr. Our opponent here is down shields, down energy, and out of luck. We're able to pick up the win. I don't even see the third Pokemon. Next game, though, I guess we're the ones out of luck. It's going to be the Shadow Kanto Ninetales here. And we are met by a Furret on the counter swap to our Shadow Feraligatr. Doesn't get much worse than this right now. I'm hoping at this point that maybe if I was going to say bait out the Furret, maybe Moltres has more play, but that doesn't really make sense. Our team's pretty good against Furret as long as our Feraligatr avoids it. I'm just hoping that whatever's in the backline is not a hard answer to Galarian Moltres. If it is, that is a little bit tragic. And I don't know if you guys just saw it there. They went for a Swift rather than a Trailblaze, which is kind of surprising to me. If I would have gone for the no-shield on that, I could have actually maybe got a shield advantage. But I guess either way here, they're still going to be able to guarantee switch advantage. They're able to knock us out. But I guess by not going for Trailblaze as well, that means my Tinkaton is going to take a lot less damage from this Pokemon. I can attempt a full Fairy Wind down here, potentially, have some Bulldozes for that Ninetales, and maybe we'll have just a little bit more wiggle room. Swift comes through, puts us down to like about 80% HP. Sucker Punches are adding up a bit against us here too, but this is where not going for the Trailblaze really helps us out. We're able to go for a full Fairy Wind down and still have over half, or I guess about half of our Tinkaton's HP around. We can go for that Bulldoze number 1. Bulldoze number 2 is going to be loaded right after. Let's see if our opponent's going to shield one of them here. In comes that first attack. Our opponent lets it go. Doesn't do too much damage, but it will be enough here to potentially put them into Sucker Punch down range if they do no-shield this next attack. In comes our next Bulldoze. They shield the move up. All right, maybe there's a chance for us right now. Oh my goodness, well, that's about as RPS of a game as it can be. Azumarill ends up coming in here, and the problem is at this point, well, aside from my timing there, which was absolutely atrocious, we are just hard countered at every single corner. If I go for the shield against this Pokemon, then what they're going to do is they're just going to be able to go for a Weather Ball against us with that Ninetales, and then outpace our Tinkaton, and if I no-shield here, then the only way I have to win is if I can somehow get to back-to-back attacks, as well as save a shield for that Weather Ball they have in the backline. I have to hope that I survive this. If it's like an Ice Beam, maybe there's a chance. It's a play rough, though, and I'm not going to get to 2 moves. I tried my best here, but unfortunately, a very RPS team against us, not quite able to pick up the win. Next game against a Regidrago in the lead. Doesn't get much better for a lead than this, but it doesn't get much worse for a save swap for us. They come in with a Forretress. And at this point, I know I kind of need to keep my Tinkaton for that Regidrago, but I also know at this point, I need my Tinkaton for this thing. I don't really know exactly what we should do at this point. Fortress is overfarming so much energy. I got 2 of our bulldozers off against them. I actually got 2 debuffs against them too, which is nice to see. But at this point, our Feraligatr is just going to come in to try to tank the energy. I don't really know at this point what I want to do because this Pokemon is so troublesome with all of this energy. I'm going to go for the Hydro Cannon, trying to get a shield from them here if I can. We do draw a shield. These Shadow Claws are adding up over time. Not quite able, though, to get that knockout against them. They go for the full Bug Bite down against us, and they have so much energy right now. I don't want to risk that they have Earthquake and get one shot, so I'm going to shield this attack up and see what we can do. Sand Tomb ends up coming through, so I guess I should have no-shielded that attack. It's always a 50-50 on if they're actually running Earthquake anymore. I've been surprised here pretty recently by an Earthquake Fortress, so I didn't want to take the risk there. Our opponent brings in a Gastrodon, and what was that? The Simul swap, the instantaneous swap, the same exact time I did. They knew I was going to swap, so they swapped right then, which means I don't have the energy lead that I'd need on my Moltres to outpace the 2 flies. At this point, it's going to be down to the wire if I can win this game, although I do see a potential win condition still. I go for the fly. I know at this point we can reach another fly if they don't throw energy against us. They realize that they do end up throwing the fly, or rather the Breaking Swift, right before my next fly. And now, my win con, I bet you guys see it as well. It's to go for a full farm down against this Regidrago with our Tinkaton. Our lose condition at this point is if we get debuffed by a Breaking Swipe. I'm going to no-shield, hope that we don't get that 50-50 against us, but we get the debuff against our Tinkaton, which means these 2 play roughs, as well as our Fairy Wind damage, is going to do an atrociously low amount of damage, and we're not going to be able to have the firepower to pick up the win there. Well played to our opponent. Almost was able to win that one, but honestly, on a Tinkaton into a Regidrago lead, they played that one pretty well. Next game is a Shadow Pidgeot in the lead, a Pokemon you don't see too often in the Open Great League, but it is a very solid core breaker. Luckily, though, it looks like we're the ones core breaking them right now. They're staying in a Pidgeot against a Tinkaton, and they actually shield that play rough, which I would assume means they're going to go for a Feather Dance here to lower my damage output. But I don't really mind if they do that at this point, because if they do go for that play, I still survive a lot of damage from them here. I'll still be able to get to this next play rough, and while this move is not going to knock them out thanks to that Feather Dance debuff against us, it should still put them pretty low to the point where I think I can Sucker Punch down with our Galarian Moltres. I would assume they're not on double nukes. I mean, I don't really call Air Cutter, or rather, what's the move called? Feather Dance on nuke, but it is a higher energy move. So they are going to be on Air Cutter and Feather Dance here. Their charge attack pressure is very little against us. I'm going to be able to come in with our Moltres, go for the full farm down against them, but our opponent is going to likely have... Okay, well, I was going to say they're going to have switch advantage, so maybe have a counter for us, but no, it looks like our Moltres up energy is all we needed to win. Next game is going to be a Shadow Diggersby in the lead, met by a Dedenne on this safe swap for my Feraligatr. And I think at this point, we're in a pretty bad spot, but maybe there's a chance for us if we can flip switch here. It's going to be kind of close. I know that Shadow Feraligatr, despite having to fight through these defense boosts on this Dedenne, will have a lot of damage itself with Shadow Claw as well as Hydro Cannon here. In comes our next Hydro Cannon. Will this move end up drawing their second shield? If they let it go, I think I can just easily flip switch. Our opponent, though, very wisely ends up shielding up their Dedenne, and at this point, I'm not sure that a triple boosted Dedenne, or is it just double boosted at this point? I'm not quite sure. I think it would probably just be double boosted, but either way, I don't know if a double boosted Dedenne would be enough for a Hydro Cannon to knock him out. In comes the attack. Is this enough? The 1 HP survive. It doesn't get much more tragic than that here. I think at this point, our only chance of winning this game is if Galarian Moltres can sweep. Our opponent is thinking about who to bring in. They end up bringing in the Azumarill here, which is probably the worst thing we could see. It's the Diggersby double fairy team, and both of their fairy types are just like the worst case scenario for us right now. I'm going to try to dance around this if I can. I go for the Brave Bird. We don't quite get a knockout against them here. I'm going to try to go for a catch. It doesn't work out. Our opponent sees that coming a mile away. But I mean, there is still a little bit of play here. I can go for play roughs here, try to whittle down this Diggersby as much as I can. I know that while they are Shadow, they still do survive 2 from full HP. It's going to be kind of close if the next one could knock out, so they're going to be forced to throw energy pretty soon here. And if they do throw energy, then maybe I can overfarm to 2 moves on my Galarian Moltres, use a Fly to knock this out. Maybe I can have Fly plus Brave Bird. The issue is I don't know if I can reach that much energy. If they are able to knock us out before I can reach 2 moves, and one of those moves being a Brave Bird for that Azu, I'm not quite sure that a Fly would be enough to knock out that the Azu in the back line. They're going for a Fire Punch here. They're very close for the next Fire Punch as well, and my HP is going to be so low after this move. I have to throw the Fly, unfortunately for us, and I don't think this is enough to KO. I mean, it knocks out the Diggersby, but I don't think the next Fly is going to knock out the Azumarill. It's going to be so close here. This is such an RPS game against us right now, but I don't think Moltres has quite enough damage to pick up the knockout. Just barely like a 5 or 6 HP survive on the Azumarill. We tried our best here, nearly came back from a super RPS game, but just barely still end up losing. Next game, Tinkaton up against a Dedenne. All right, well, I mean, we've been kind of trying to dance around Dedennes all day today. Let's see if we can pick up the win against one in the lead, but I'm going to be real with you guys. If they start shielding this Pokemon, this could be a bit of a nightmare. They're going instantly for a Parabolic Charge against us, and this move not only is almost enough to two-shot us, but it raises their defense stat, meaning Dedenne, over time, is going to be so much more difficult to knock out in the backline. In comes a player off, and of course, they shield that first move. I mean, it's Dedenne, right? They know that the more they shield, I guess, the less damage they take, because they keep on boosting their defense stat. But I do know I survived that attack here, and you might think this is like a really bad idea, but I swap into my Shadow Feraligatr, knowing that at this point, I need to swap into something that actually does damage. Maybe I can get them to clear their boosts here. I don't know if they would actually end up doing that. Okay, they actually do exactly what I was saying there. If they end up clearing their boosts, that is the one chance that I have of taking down that Dedenne. At this point, we actually reveal it's also a Bullet Seed trade daily, which is kind of interesting. I overfarm as much energy as I possibly can. I go for the Hydro Cannon on CMP to potentially knock out this trade daily. They let it go. Down goes the Grass-type Pokemon. Dedenne does have some energy still left over on it, but I'm just a single Shadow Claw away from my next Hydro Cannon, and thanks to them clearing the debuffs, this is almost certainly enough to knock out. In comes the Hydro Cannon here. Our opponent at this point does use their shield. They go for the CMP on our Bulldoze, but I think I need this damage off at all costs. I'm going to shield this move up. They boost their defense stat, but this Bulldoze will come through them, and hopefully at this point it will be enough to either knock them out or put them into a Shadow Claw downrange. They actually end up swapping out here into their own Galarian Moltres, and this endgame is going to be close, but as long as I can survive a Brave Bird from this Pokemon, I should be able to have a chance to win this game. They're going to outpace us by that one Sucker Punch energy lead that they had. In comes the attack here. Can we survive Galarian Moltres Brave Bird into Brave Bird? It is just enough for us to survive, but now we have ours ready to go. Down goes their Moltres. We get a couple Sucker Punches through here, and now just a couple Shadow Claws is all we need to knock them out. They were completely energy dry. They could not reach that move there. And while we do end the day off on a 2-3 set, I mean, you can't always end off the day with a positive set here, right? But it's still a decent set, and still a lot of fun with that final game. They're somehow coming back from that Dedenne lead. GG there to our opponent. And I think Shadow Feraligatr, while it is a little bit of a relic of the past, it still has a lot of play as a neutral Pokemon, as a safe swap, as we saw in today's video, and it can be quite a bit of fun to use. Alright, well, thank you so much for watching, take care, and I'll see you in the next one.